Hey everyone, let's talk about something that sounds almost invisible, but is actually one of the most effective techniques in advanced cyber attacks. And I want you to think about this as we go through it. What if the websites you trust the most were the very places attackers were waiting for you? Welcome to Bluehat Cybersec Academy. In the landscape of advanced cyber attacks, watering hole attacks stand out because they don't directly target individuals first. Instead, they target the places those individuals trust. Instead of breaking into a user's device through brute force or phishing emails, attackers compromise websites that a specific group of users is likely to visit. When the victims arrive, they unknowingly step into a trap. This method is subtle, patient, and highly effective when executed correctly. That's why it is often associated with advanced persistent threat groups and state-sponsored attackers. Now, to understand this properly, let's break it down step by step. When we ask what a watering hole attack actually is, it's a cyber exploitation technique, where attackers compromise a legitimate website frequently visited by a targeted group. The goal is simple: infect visitors by exploiting vulnerabilities in their browsers, plugins, or system configurations. The name comes from nature. Predators don't chase every animal. They wait near watering holes, where prey naturally gathers. In cybersecurity terms, watering hole equals a trusted website. Prey equals targeted users, like employees, organizations, or industries. Predator equals attacker waiting for infection opportunities. Now, the core idea behind this attack is what makes it especially dangerous. Instead of attacking thousands of random users, attackers focus only on specific targets. These may include things like industry-specific portals, government websites, vendor or supply chain platforms, and forums or niche community sites. Once a site is compromised, malicious code is injected. This allows attackers to silently profile visitors, serve malware only to specific targets, and trigger exploits based on system vulnerabilities. This selective targeting makes the attack harder to detect and even harder to analyze. Now let's walk through how a watering hole attack actually works at a high level. The lifecycle usually begins with target selection. Attackers first identify a group of interest. For example, employees of a defense contractor, financial sector professionals, government agency staff, or researchers in a specific field. Then they analyze which websites these users commonly visit. Next comes website reconnaissance. Instead of attacking users directly, attackers study the website itself. They look for CMS platforms used, plugin versions, and known vulnerabilities, server misconfigurations, and admin access weaknesses. The goal here is simple: find a way into the website infrastructure. Once a weakness is found, we move into website compromise. At this stage, attackers gain control of the site. They modify its content or scripts. Common actions include injecting malicious JavaScript, embedding hidden iframes, and redirecting traffic to exploit servers. And here's the key point: the site still appears completely normal. Nothing looks broken. Nothing feels suspicious. After that comes selective exploitation. Not every visitor is targeted. Instead, visitor profiles are analyzed, including browser, OS, and IP range. Only vulnerable systems are served payloads, and others see the normal website. This is what makes it so stealthy and so effective. It reduces exposure and delays detection. Then we reach payload delivery and execution. If a vulnerable system is identified, the browser is silently exploited, malware is delivered, often a remote access tool or spyware, and attackers gain persistence inside the network. From here, the attacker may begin lateral movement within the organization. Now let's pause and talk about why watering hole attacks are so dangerous. First, they exploit trust. Users are not tricked into clicking suspicious links. They simply visit legitimate websites. Second, they bypass traditional awareness training. Even cautious users are vulnerable. There is no obvious phishing email, no fake login page, and no clear warning. Third, they are highly targeted. Only specific groups are affected. This makes detection significantly harder for security teams. Fourth, they blend into normal traffic. Infected sites still behave normally for most visitors, so malicious activity hides in plain sight. To understand how serious this is in the real world, let's look at some high-level examples. In strategic government and defense targeting, several advanced persistent threat groups have used watering hole tactics to target defense contractors, government agencies, and policy research organizations. Compromised industry forums and niche websites were often used as infection points. In industry-specific website attacks, attackers have compromised software vendor support pages, industry association websites, and technology blogs frequented by engineers. The goal in these cases is usually espionage and intellectual property theft. And in media and information portals, certain campaigns have targeted websites used by journalists, political analysts, and information networks. The objective here is access to sensitive information environments. While attribution varies, these attacks are most often linked to long-term espionage operations, not short-term financial crime. Common exploitation techniques used. Now let's talk about the techniques used at a conceptual level. Watering hole attacks may involve browser vulnerability exploitation, drive-by downloads, malicious script injection, zero-day exploitation in advanced cases, and redirect chains to exploit servers. The sophistication depends entirely on attacker resources and their objectives. How to detect watering hole attacks. So how do we detect something like this? Detection is challenging, but not impossible. At the website level, indicators include unexpected script modifications, unknown external script sources, unusual redirects or iframe injections, and file integrity changes on web servers. At the network level, you may observe suspicious outbound connections from user devices, traffic to unfamiliar domains after visiting trusted sites, and repeated exploit-like request patterns. At the endpoint level, indicators include unexpected browser-related process behavior, memory injection activity, and unexplained privilege escalation attempts. Prevention and mitigation strategies. Now, when it comes to prevention and mitigation, defense has to happen on multiple layers. First, harden websites. Regular patching of CMS and plugins, strong access control for admin panels, file integrity monitoring, and web application firewalls. Second, secure user endpoints. Keep browsers and plugins updated. Disable unnecessary extensions. Use sandbox browsing environments, and deploy endpoint detection and response tools. Third, network security controls, DNS filtering to block malicious redirects, intrusion detection systems, and segmented network architecture. And fourth, threat intelligence integration, monitor known compromised domains, track emerging exploit campaigns, and share indicators of compromise across organizations. Why these attacks are still relevant today. Even with modern cybersecurity improvements, watering hole attacks remain relevant today. Because many websites still use outdated software, users rely heavily on trusted industry portals. Zero-day vulnerabilities continue to emerge, and attackers combine methods like phishing, watering holes, and supply chain compromise. In modern cyber warfare, they remain a preferred tool for stealthy long-term access. Final thoughts. Now to wrap this up. Watering hole attacks succeed not by breaking systems directly, but by exploiting behavioral patterns. They turn everyday web browsing into a potential entry point for intrusion. And that's the key lesson here. Security is no longer just about protecting devices, or even users individually. It's about protecting the entire ecosystem of trust around them. And now I want to leave you with something to think about. If you were defending a system like this, how would you protect a website that thousands of trusted users visit every day, without breaking their experience? And more importantly, how would you detect something that looks completely normal on the surface, but is already compromised underneath? Before we end this session, think about these questions. Why are watering hole attacks more dangerous than phishing in certain environments? What makes them so difficult to detect in real-world networks? If you were building a defense system, would you prioritize website security, network monitoring, or endpoint detection first? And why? Try answering these as you revisit the concept. And if this breakdown helped you understand how attackers think in real-world scenarios, this is just one part of the advanced hacking, attacks and exploitation playlist. So make sure you like, share, and subscribe, because in the next session, we'll go even deeper into real attack chains and how defenders break them apart step by step. See you in the next one.